It's the Harris Football Podcast with your host, Christopher Harris.
Welcome! Hey, everybody! Welcome in. My name's Chris, and I have had a morning. Thank you so much for listening to the little podcast that could today. It is going to be event-packed. That's all I can tell you. It is August 1st. I can't believe it. It's here. I'm really excited. For more than 3 months, I have been locked away in a metaphorical room with my laptop, watching all that film, writing all those profiles, telling all those jokes. And today's the day I finally get to share the fruits of my labor. Today is Almanac Day. It is out. I'm very, very happy with it. It's, I think, definitely the deepest I've gone in terms of like really writing full profiles for everyone. 230 plus player profiles where, I mean, all I know is the longest one I've ever written for sure. It's a really funny cover, some awesome graphics throughout. Thanks to John McGowan, who's a listener, who's a great designer. I appreciate you, John. I got in there film grades for every veteran player, rookie comparisons to past NFL players, research projects. Cousin Josh is in there making snarky comments about players. The Almanac is the only place where I put Superflex and Dynasty ranks. And if you pre-ordered that thing this past spring or over the summer, I thank you very much. And boy, did you maybe get a run around a little bit this morning. I'm sorry for that. That's user error on my part. There's a big mistake I made in the way I set up this year's store. It's nobody's fault but my own. And it turned out every single person who has ordered an Almanac over the last 2 years got the Almanac. And so a lot of people emailed me, because you're wonderful human beings, like, hey man, I'm planning on buying it this year, but I didn't buy it and I just got it, so what should I do? And yeah, what a mess. And then, so what I had to do essentially was like turn it off entirely. So now those emails to the people who haven't purchased for 2025, those don't work anymore. But unfortunately, those of you who did pre-order for 2025, those don't work either. So I, as a workaround, you should, if you've pre-ordered, you should have an email from me, personal email from me with a link to download it. If you don't, email me, heyharris@harrisfootball.com. We'll make it right. And as far as the email that went out to all of you who've ordered in 2024, but not yet in 2025, oops, you could just consider that a marketing email. Really clever. I think probably a lot of you got a free copy. Listen, I'm not going to starve. I'm going to look back on this and just say what a dum-dum I am. That's very funny that it happened. If you want to make it right and order one anyway, so that, you know, you wind up paying for it, that would be wonderful. But listen, it's my stupid mistake. So anyway, I'm really, really proud of the book. And if you get it this weekend, I hope you start reading it. There's one thing I can guarantee every year about the Almanac. By hook or by crook, it will be the best written fantasy football draft guide that you can find anywhere. It will have really nice sentences for you to read that I very much slaved over. And it's, yeah. So anyway, okay. So if none of this applies to you, it's still, and if you want to order, you know, and make it right because you got a free one, or if you got the email and didn't get a free one, but you're like, oh yeah, I should get the Almanac. It's very easy. Go to harrisfootball.com. It is $22. There's also an update. Everyone's going to get an update. If I can figure out how to do it without messing it up, I can. So like one update that's going to come out 1 month from today, right before Labor Day weekend, you're going to get a brand new PDF where I turn on the track changes and you can see my explanations for why the ranks have been shifting around. Almanac Day. It was stressful this year, but it only comes once a year, and I'm very, very thankful that I get to do this with and for all of you, and I'm super happy about it. Phew. All right. So is there any news out there in football? Yeah, I mean, there's player news, of course. There's a fire hose of player news. A couple of things have changed my ranks. Darnell Mooney hurts his shoulder. We glancingly mentioned that on Tuesday's show. Certainly it's real. It lowered him pretty significantly in my ranks. He might be ready for week 1. He's not going to have a training camp with Michael Penix. It could be fine. He's still going to have big play upside, but I mean, we're going to pay attention to the negative stuff in camp and the injuries in camp. Mooney is down to my wide receiver 54, more of a double-digit round guy now. We had Isaiah Likely getting surgery for a fractured foot. When we talked about the Ravens and paying attention to their training camp a couple of weeks ago, we wondered whether Likely could mount a challenge to Mark Andrews, and the answer would appear to be not in August. I didn't really move Likely further down just because I didn't have him very high, but Mark Andrews feels a little safer now. And Terry McLaurin, very big story just in the last day. He's holding in for training camp, and the news is that he officially asked for a trade. You know, does that really mean he's going to get traded? No, not absolutely. It might. It is a bargaining chip that he has. We'll see how contentious this continues to get. It seems to be pretty contentious. Getting traded away from Jaden Daniels wouldn't be an incredible move for McLovin's fantasy value, but he would presumably land on a team that would pay him a lot of money that the Commanders don't want to pay him. My stupid footy pajama team could definitely use him. I did not lower Terry McLaurin in the ranks yet. This has a long way to go. We're not drafting too many real leagues for several weeks, but of course, as we talked about I think like 3 weeks ago, it's one of the stories that we'll continue to watch, and at some point it will have to start affecting his rank, just not on August 1st. All right. What other news do we have? I mean, in addition to Almanac Day and me messing up Almanac Day temporarily, I've been planning to do this big announcement, and here we go. I've been promising a big announcement, and it's about this podcast. So this is actually a different big announcement than the one I was expecting to make back in May. I was expecting to tell you that I was changing the podcast from 5 episodes per week during the season to 4 episodes per week during the season. The plan back in May was, okay, I'm going to combine stuff that we love about the Wednesday and the Thursday shows into one show and do it on Thursdays. The reasons for making that decision back in May, probably 2 reasons. First, yeah, you can guess, there's a little bit of a burnout factor, trying to keep it fresh for the longer term so that the show can keep going on and remain healthy, and I can remain healthy. It's been 10 years of this, something like 1,300 podcasts. I was looking to make that tweak, take a breather each Wednesday during the season, make 4 shows a week. And the other reason, I have to admit, you may or may not know, like peeling back the curtain, I book my own ads on the show. I am the ad booker for this show. And unfortunately, in the decade I've been doing this, really just in the last year is the biggest changes. The ad business is really changing. I would argue probably not for the better. Now, I don't mean the sponsors that I have, the ones that you hear me talk about, they're incredible. But it's just finding sponsors and not losing sponsors. And I've lost some big ones. Like, you're going to recognize some names that you've had on the show for a long time that are not back. And it's not because they don't love us. It's just the business is changing. And it's getting harder and harder. It's been really tough to book the calendar this year, as they say. And it is a whole separate job. And I love dealing with the longtime sponsors, but finding new ones, it's just getting more difficult. So the idea of having to book ads for one less show per week, also pretty appealing. And that's where I was coming from. So that's what I had decided. I didn't say anything on the May episodes that we do because, it's a long way off, and that's a fun couple of episodes where cousin Josh and I talk about the 2025 ranks, and I figured, come July, I'll make the announcement. It won't affect the draft season. I'll still do 5 shows a week in August because, we want to get a lot of voices on the show and talk through a lot of our favorite pre-draft topics, but in season, 4 shows a week, and that was my plan. And then my best friend in this very stupid business got fired from his job. Andy Behrens, enemy to possums and geese, but friends to most of us. I think he's probably neutral to pandas and flamingos, though, we'll always accuse him of hating them because it's more fun. He got jettisoned by Yahoo. You may have heard about that this summer. It was momentarily kind of a big stink on social media in fantasy circles. But of course, a lot of you rightly unplug from that stuff, so maybe this is the first time you've heard that Andy has been laid off from Yahoo. 18 years. And of course I was sad for him because he was sad at first, but selfishly I was a little bit happy because we've always wanted to work together. So in my mind, it started to swirl around. that maybe this is the opportunity. So we talked a lot this summer while I was in Massachusetts, and we figured it out. So I was already going to 4 episodes per week. So why don't Andy and I do a 5th podcast episode? And I don't want to sell ads for it. So we're going to try seeing if we can go ad-free on that episode and have it be available for subscription. For a while we were talking, we were thinking, oh, maybe it's like a bonus episode on Saturdays. And then we just hashed it around and around. And we thought, Wednesdays are now available because I'm not doing that show anymore. So it turns out, so much for the lessened workload, I'm not doing fewer shows this season. But the Wednesday show is going to be behind a paywall. It'll be $5 a month to subscribe and get that Wednesday show that will always feature Behrens as a guest. And also that subscription, we're going to talk about what it gets you a little bit later with Andy. He's going to be writing a blog, and we're going to do live streams. We're going to do the People of the Book live streams are going to go away. I'm sorry about that. Your book purchase only got you 10 years of live stream access. We're going to make that part of this subscription thing. We're going to have a new Discord where, if you're subscribed, you'll be able to be on this Discord that we'll be on also. We'll talk about this more with Andy in a second. So this is how it all came along, really wanting to work with Andy and then, using it as an opportunity to understand, is there support for ad-free, premium episodes that I don't have to find advertisements for. So that's the big announcement. You would think that the Almanac getting screwed up this morning would have been a bigger announcement, but no, this is bigger. I know it's a doozy. You can't actually subscribe yet. I think that's coming on Monday. I'll mention it on Monday's show, one way or the other. I know that change can be jarring. I know it can stink. I know not everyone has the discretionary income to spend anything extra on a podcast. I know that most people won't subscribe to the bonus show, and that is absolutely fine. I was planning on having it 4 ad-supported free shows per week. And so that's always was the plan. That's what I'm going to do. Film review on Mondays and Tuesdays, waivers on Tuesdays, Cousin Josh on Friday. As I was planning, Thursday, kind of a mishmash of the traditional Wednesday and Thursday topics with ranks and flexual healing and Jake Trowbridge. If you skip the Wednesday premium show, you'll be fine. You'll still get all the good stuff that we do every week. So if you're casting the side eye at hearing this and you don't particularly want to pay for that extra show, I love you. And it's no problem at all. But we are excited. Andy's the guest today. I'm going to talk about it with him in a little bit. Boy, what a morning.
All he's trying to do is help you.
Indeed. I am so helpful. And so you folks know that I'm not by nature a best ball bro, but DraftKings is back as a sponsor, and I'm so pleased about it. And they are sponsoring a big contest again this year. And who am I to turn up my nose or the show's nose when they're running a $15 million contest where first and second place is going to wind up being millionaires? It's the Millie Maker. You know how it goes with best ball. You draft, and then there's no waiver wire, no roster management. Your best players count each week. So I did one. I'm going to do a few of these for the show. I'm not above doing a little best ball. These are 20-man rosters. And so I did a draft. I'll talk about it here for a second. Who did I get? First round, I got Jahmyr Gibbs. I was picking 4, and he lasted to 4. I was happy. That's great. That's about where he should go. Brian Thomas, I got. The second round, I took JSN, who we're going to talk about a little bit later with Andy. And of course, when you go deeper into the draft like this one, you're not picking any safe bench type players. It's just a different mindset in best ball. You're looking for guys who can reasonably go off. In this draft, I can tell you a few of the guys who I got later. I got Jordan Addison for the weekly pop. I really like him anyway this year, but in best ball, all the better. I did take Chris Olave. Obvious reason why his redraft value gets suppressed for this year, but in best ball, I will take the chance. I did the combo of Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson very late in the draft. Emeka Ibuka I got. This was a fun draft, and I am entered, and everyone who enters gets a draft one, get one special. It's a $20 entry fee, and if you enter, you get a bonus ticket. So Will we be talking some best ball here in August on the show? Yes, we will. Very thankful to have DraftKings back as a sponsor. If you want to check out this $15 million contest that's going to make some millionaires, download the DraftKings app and sign up using the code Harris only on DraftKings. Let's play that disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. One per customer. Enter the Best Ball 15 Million Headliner Contest by 9/4/25 to get one bonus entry. $20 entry fee required. Reward expires in 30 days. See terms at DraftKings.com/NFL-best-ball.
Today's kickoff.
Okay, on today's show, I think I've set it up pretty well. It's the last of our July shows here on August 1st. It's our final division. We've been through them all. We're going to go talk about the training camps and August practices for the teams of the NFC West. So that means Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, and 49ers. What will we be watching for in camps? How much could our opinions change or not change? And before we do that, I'm going to talk about all this change on the show. My guest will be the aforementioned Mr. Behrens, and I think it's going to be fun. I thank you so much for listening today. We are sponsored again this draft season by Fantrax, the most customizable site for fantasy football leagues. Anything you can think of, any roster construction, any scoring, Fantrax can do it. Salary cap, auction, fab, anything you're frustrated your current platform can't do, Fantrax can do it. And you can get a real live human being to help you transfer an existing league. Fantrax is also the home of a truly robust and one-of-a-kind college football fantasy game. You can play in a real college football fantasy league with your friends. Other platforms just don't have it. They are great folks. They've got a promotion running where anyone starting up a new league on Fantrax is getting entered for a drawing to win a Jamar Chase jersey, which is very fun. But really, I just advise you, before you get too far into your old platform this fantasy season, just give Fantrax a look. It is simple, but the commissioner tools are really insane. They're great. Check them out. Fantrax.com/Harris. If you add the /Harris there on the end of the show, they'll know that I sent you. You'll land on a page to make a free account, and then you can just explore a little bit. That's Fantrax.com/Harris, Fantrax.com/Harris.
Today's guest.
This is a guy who can't be beat. Let's just buy Harris in 2016. Cubs win the series, he's drunk all day. CJ Beathard all the way. I want Andy.
You all want Andy. That's kind of been the point of July. Too many people bothering me about when the heck Andy Behrens is coming on the show. And now you have an indication maybe why we haven't had Andy on until it was time to really announce something. And Andy, before we get to the meat of the bone, are you honored and excited to be aboard the yacht on Almanac Day?
Oh my gosh, what a basically a holiday within your strange community. What a thrill, what an honor. I could not be more pleased to be here on this momentous of days.
And I mentioned to you that I screwed myself up because I was trying to give myself an extra weekend to finish it when, like 3 months ago when I started writing it. I've already copped to this, and so I put in the receipt that everybody got when they pre-ordered. I put in, congratulations, you get it again on August 4th. And no, you're getting under promise, over deliver. That's what I say.
The good thing is you're not the type of person to obsess over a tiny and inconsequential mistake, so that's great.
You are learning more and more that I absolutely do not do that. So the tea has been spilled, and the process by which we've come to this alliance that we're undergoing has been laid out bare earlier in the show. So the sum total of it is that you and I are going to do a weekly podcast together. And
we are.
It's going to appear on Wednesdays. And it's going to be ad-free. It's going to be behind a little bit of a paywall. Just the idea that we get to podcast together every week. That was never a possibility back when you worked for that big, stupid company.
That is a fair way to frame it. You and I have we've talked around doing something like this for a long time, and hey, huge thanks to the former employer for making this possible. I'm actually, I could not be more excited about what I'm doing this season. And it's been a long time since I've felt, something other than dread is the wrong word, but it's been a long time that, since I felt this level of anticipation and excitement coming into a season, because I get to work exclusively. Not that I had poor relationships at the old company. I don't mean to say that. I love all those guys, but man, I'm working with only people that I have chosen to work with, and I'm collaborating with you for the first time since back in the day, way back in the day,
Whole city.
Early internet days, and I'm just really excited about what we're going to be doing.
It's going to be fun. So we're going to do a weekly show, and then I didn't really talk about the details beyond that. I promised that you and I would do it. So for people who wind up saying, yes, you can have $5 of my money per month to listen to the Wednesday show, in addition, they're going to get access to your writing and maybe a little bit of my writing, but I think more of your writing than mine. I'm not going to commit to too much of the on the writing side. I used to be a writer, because you're going to have a blog.
Used to be a writer. Stop it.
I used to be a football writer. I don't really write. I guess I do in the Almanac, but the writing the weekly waiver piece, that is not my idea of a good time. So you can go ahead and do that. But this is going to be called The Deep Shot, and it's going to be for subscribers only. And if you subscribe to the podcast, there's going to be, I think you're planning on having it updated, the blog updated with various fantasy topics and completely not fantasy topics, just things that, catch your fancy, like a lot during the season, right?
Yes, that is very well described. And I am looking forward to being able to write the things that I want to write when I want to write them, and to sort of handpick the type of fantasy content that I really enjoyed. And maybe to never again have to write one of those sort of dumb listy, hey, here's 7 players that are going to smash at their ADP, like some of the things that click well, that, editors like to toss your way. Shout out to Yahoo editors. They were all great. But, there's some of the work I didn't necessarily love, and I get to determine what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna work on, and so I'm gonna work on the fun stuff, the stuff that I think people really, really enjoyed. Some of it clicked, some of it was just for me, but I'm very much looking forward to the Deep Shot as a project. Doing it with another former Yahoo, Dalton Del Don. He's gonna be doing a bunch of writing there. We're gonna get some spicy outtakes from. I've just been going through some of the Almanac blurbs that we're gonna simulcast on the Deep Shot, and they're good. It's good content. The Harris contributions are gonna be gems, all of them.
And also you're going to write about is there a important track and field thing happening between now and December?
Look at you knowing the world of track and field.
Is there?
That's awesome. It's great to have you on board. Big track guy, big throws guy. I bet big shot put discus guy, Chris Harris. Actually, if I could stand, I would totally throw something. I can't stand. We're actually heading into U.S. championships to send a team to Worlds, which is something that I pay a lot of attention to and am totally distracted by and love. For many years I was the only person who was really watching track and field at Yahoo, and they never let me cover it. And I'm really excited to occasionally drop in an article or two about it.
If I submit an article, I doubt it'll be about fantasy. It'll probably be about something else, but. So that's going to be really fun. That part of it's cool. We're doing a Discord where people who are subscribers get to be in a Discord with us. Andy has promised massive interaction in the Discord because it's one of his favorite things.
You know what's funny, and you and I have talked about this off air, is in final days at Yahoo for me, I was loving the premium Discord that they set up. I was in it all the time. I was swapping stories with the community of subscribers. And then of course they fired my ass and nobody was really jumping into the Discord anymore. But I loved it, so I can't wait to do that again.
Yeah, so that'll be a benefit. And then also the live streams. I'm sorry to the people of the book, but I hope you got 10 years of good live streams out of me with the people with the Sunday morning live streams. We haven't figured out exactly with the schedule who's going to be doing what when, but like maybe we'll probably do the pregame live stream. Somebody will do it noon Eastern to kick off. And then we'll also maybe do like some live streaming in a island game where the second half we come and talk to each other and talk to the chat and stuff. So we think you're going to get your $5 a month worth.
Oh, hell yeah, you're going to get your $5 a month worth. And like we don't need your hard-earned money, but we'll take your ill-gotten money. We'll take your dirty money.
Yeah, I think that's well said in that, I mean, I was planning on doing the show 4 days a week. That was the plan coming into my 11th season. I hit the 10-year mark, and I was like, all right, I needed to wind down a little. And it turned out I didn't wind down at all, and maybe biting off more than I could chew, but for a very good reason, because we get to work together. But I just want everybody to realize that, the ad-sponsored show, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, will be the same as it ever was, and my primary focus, obviously. And then also, if you can't swing it, that's totally fine. I completely understand why you can't swing it, and I'm gonna give you everything I got. Believe me, all throughout the rest of the season and all throughout the rest of the week. So that's where we stand, and we're excited, and we hope you guys are too. You're gonna be able. You can't actually sign up for it now. But we think on Monday, I will certainly have an update on Monday's podcast, because next week we're going five podcasts a week. During August, by the way, Andy and I will be doing a bonus episode where it's behind the paywall, but I am going to do 5 a week also. So I'm doing 6 podcasts a week. So much for me, like my retirement plan. So the Wednesday show leading into the season, we need to talk draft. So all those shows I want to leave free for everybody. Once we get into the season, there's a way for me. I always felt, Andy, that the Wednesday and the Thursday show could have been one show, but I was doing it as 2 because it's fun and like I can play songs and I can still do that, but not the mixtapes, they'll always get played, but music digressions and, maybe there doesn't need to be a flexual healing every week. And, I've always felt like I could combine those shows, but certainly not during draft season because we've got a lot of topics we got to get to leading into the draft. All right. So that's our future plans. We're excited.
That's good news. That's big news.
Yeah. And some people are going to be mad. But, people get mad somebody's going to get mad over everything. Like, you look at my iTunes reviews, trust me, people get mad over everything. But the vast majority of people don't. And, even if you're not interested and even if you're like bummed that it would be 4 listens a week instead of 5, I'm sorry. Like I'm trying to stay fresh doing this and trying to find a way to, not feel like I have to do whatever it wants, 130 shows a year. And so now it's going to turn out I'm doing 130 shows, but I have a feeling that the Wednesday show is going to be a little different. It's going to be a little less structured, a little more just a little shoot from the hip. Like,
and guys, if you gotta fire off like an angry note, an angry email, a screed, make sure you copy me. I love that stuff. I need to see it. I find that stuff life affirming.
Do you have a public facing email that you want to throw out there right now?
Oh God, no.
Well, you're going to need one. You can have a Harris Football. You want a Harris Football email address? We'll set you one of those. All right. So that's enough of that stuff. And I hope you will believe, all you listeners out there, that, my heart is still in doing the free show and doing everything I can do to make it as fun as it's always been. And we're going to continue that right now. This is the last one. This is the last of the divisional previews. We've done 7 shows prior to this. If you haven't listened to the other 7, there's time to catch up because next week's going to get busy. This is the NFC West. Andy's a longtime veteran, obviously, of the fascist email. And he even commented on it that he was so excited to get it again. And the goal, of course, is to talk about the ways in which our opinions can change in August, or very crucially not change. And I'll start with the division champion Rams. And the first name I want to talk about is Blake Corum. And you were so charmed by the fact that I picked Blake Corum as a topic.
I truly was, and I was complimenting you on this before we got started. This is this is the type of really good player that you have been adept, I think, at identifying over the years. It is like it's these guys who, you know, I'm not. This is not a direct comparison of one player to Josh Jacobs, whatever, but it's that type of player who doesn't necessarily produce like signature breakaway plays or didn't, you know, in his first season. But man, Blake Corum gives you a whole bunch of like 4 and 5 yard runs that could have easily been snuffed out at the line of scrimmage or just past it. He's got, you know, balance, quick feet. He's got all that. But he's not one of those guys where like, oh, you know, if you're the type of analyst who is just looking at yards per carry, who is just looking at the surfacey efficiency stats, you're going to be like, oh, this guy was a dud. He lacks burst. You know, you're going to say all the things, but it just, you know, you watch the right game, you watch the right moments from this guy, and he's fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was one of the winners from the Almanac. Like, if, you know, people are like, who's the Chase Brown of this year? And I don't think I came up with one that I feel as strongly about as I did Chase Brown last year. But Corum is one of the 3 backup running backs who doesn't have a path to carries right now, but I just came away thinking he's really good. And so the question for him in training camp is there a world where we could get enough stories that are positive of Blake Corum, or stories about how Sean McVay is insistent that Kyren Williams finally needs to take a rest and they have to find somebody else they can not give it to Kyren Williams 300 times, to where you could get Blake Corum into that category of must handcuff, where he, you know, let's face it, coming into this year, he's not who would leap to mind as, you know, by God, you know, if you get Kyren Williams, you must make sure you get Blake Corum. Is there anything that could happen in August that could get you to that point?
Yeah, this is where the bad news hits, right? Because I don't think that anything short of an injury to Kyren is going to make me think that either Blake Corum or Jarquez Hunter is going to be anything more than really a seat filler when Williams needs to take a series off. I will say that I do kind of have it in my head that we should maybe listen to Sean McVay and the Rams more than we do to most teams during the summer, because I go back to a couple seasons ago. They tried to tell us about Puka Nacua. Like they didn't keep that under wraps. They gushed about him all the time. The signals were pretty loud there. They also tried to tell us, you know, back in the day that they really liked Kyren ahead of his first season. And so if they're gushing about Blake Corum, I'm gonna care a little bit. I'll believe it. They've tipped their hand before. They're a little bit less secretive than some teams. And also I do think of Corum as the kind of guy who, if the starter goes down, I'm ready to start him. I'm ready to play him in my fantasy lineup. So that's the kind of handcuff that you actually want to collect, right? Like not just. I don't just need to have any old backup to my starting running backs, but if it's somebody who I can enthusiastically say, oh yeah, I think he could produce 95%, maybe 100% of what the starter would give us, I feel great about it. Now, as a practical matter, like the handcuff backs that you draft are also your first drops of the season, so it gets messy there. But he's one of the he's one of those backups that I am probably most interested in.
So you're considering it. Who are like, I don't know that we can either of us extemporaneously produce the definite handcuff list of, you know, if you take this starter, you have to take this backup. Tyler Algier seems like one.
Yeah.
That you want to consider. Isaac Guerrero seems like, you know, we'll get to that team later in the show, but
yeah,
whoever
that's what I was going to say. Guerrero is the big one,
right,
sort of in this division where you're most worried about an injury, and we kind of already know that he can produce not at a McCaffrey level, but at a pretty high level.
Right. And I don't know, like a player like Jordan Mason, does that even qualify as a handcuff? You might be drafting Jordan Mason independent of drafting Aaron Jones. Zach Charbonnet, does that count as a handcuff, or is that you're drafting him independent of Ken Walker.
Yeah, now we're into the guys that are just going to see a bunch of playing time, probably, right? Like I think that's where it's headed with Mason. So they probably fit, whatever. It's all labels, but they probably fit in a slightly different category than someone like Corum, who I do not expect to play a great deal unless something happens to Williams. And then if he is deployed as the starter, and I assume he would be, I think he's going to look great.
That's right. Best Ball is back on DraftKings. There are 15 million reasons to be excited. That Best Ball contest on DraftKings, I did my first draft. I've got my first entry, and 2 people are going to come out of this thing as millionaires. First place and second place, both more than $1 million. And DraftKings is offering everyone a draft one, get one free special. Your $20 entry in the Best Ball Millie Maker scores you a bonus ticket. Download the DraftKings app, and you know what I always say. If you sign up at DraftKings, please do use that code Harris. That's how they know that sponsoring the show works. That is code Harris for all customers who enter the NFL Best Ball $15 million millionaire contest to get a bonus ticket and get a shot at being crowned one of 2 millionaires. You got to check it out. It's a great big Best Ball contest. You don't have to manage the team throughout the season. You do it once, and then you watch how you do, only on DraftKings. Okay, we're back with Andy. We are talking about the teams of the NFC West, talking about their training camps. One more Rams thought. I don't think there's that much more to talk about with the Rams. They're pretty set among the skill positions. Devontae Adams is there instead of Cooper Kupp. Those are both old players. They there aren't a lot of surprises. They're young compared to us, but they're old for NFL. I don't imagine, other than an injury, there's nothing that's gonna. Whatever your take on Devontae Adams is, whether you think he's, kind of a miscreant who only perked up when he had a chance to set a record with Aaron Rodgers, or whether you think he's just, got lots left in the bag, whatever that take is, probably training camp is not going to push you away from that take.
Yeah, no, I don't think we're going to hear. First of all, I don't think we're going to hear a lot of negativity about Devontae Adams necessarily. We're not going to see him because it's a Sean McVay team, and he's not going to put players at risk unnecessarily who have nothing to prove. And it's also, I expect Devontae Adams to age relatively well. He's not some guy who like throughout his career has won with speed necessarily. He's a technician. He wins because he's unreadable. He has every trick in his bag, right? And there's nothing about his play last season that makes me think he's completely cooked either. He was a productive player. The problem here, the thing that hangs over the entire Rams offense is that we need a healthy Matthew Stafford. The whole thing seems like a house of cards that can easily collapse if Stafford ever misses time. But that's beyond Adams' control.
And that's far away. Like we're told now, he's missing Stafford. The last week of July, the first day of August, he's missing practice with a sore back. That does not matter. We're not getting freaked out by that. But of course, if he's still out with a bad back in 3 weeks, we will revisit. Of course, we will.
Yep.
It will matter. All right, the Seahawks. There's Cooper Kupp right over there. So, in 2 professional seasons, Jackson Smith-Njigba has run more routes out of the slot than any wide receiver in the NFL, and that equates to more than 75% of his routes. In that same 2-year span, Cooper Kupp has run more than half of his routes from the slot. And that's all well and good, but even no matter where he was lining up towards the end of last year, Sean McVay just stopped throwing the ball in his direction. Not that he was the actual thrower, but, he was telling the guy who was throwing not to throw it there. And it became an open secret, especially among LA football circles, in which I only merely dabble, but I dabble a little, that at this trade deadline, they were trying to give Cooper Kupp away for nothing. They were trying to give him away for a 7th-round pick so they could get rid of the money, and they had no intention of keeping him on the roster beyond last year. They clearly did not. Seahawks gave him a lot of money, though, a lot more than I would have. Is there stuff that you feel like you can learn from beat reports about how those 2 players, JSN and Cooper Kupp, will be deployed on the same team?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with Cup here. Cup was first of all, like, going way back. This is one of my favorite prospects that I ever remember watching for fantasy purposes in college. So fun player, but you kind of hit on it with Cup. The most important thing here is not even like what I saw, what you saw from Cooper Kupp. It's that by the end of his run with the Rams, he was on the field like 85% of the time, and they were giving him 3 targets a game. So that's what Sean McVay and Stafford thought of Cooper Kupp. So like that's where we're at. It is that you've also hit on an important issue here with JSN, and we have all this we have this weird competition for like who's going to be the slot guy, because Seattle is messaging the idea that JSN is so much more than merely a slot receiver, that he can work outside and win. And I'm relatively confident that that's true. But they also gave him by far the most slot snaps among all wide receivers last year. It wasn't even close. He was the league's only receiver to play over 500 slot snaps, and he played a lot more than that. So he and Kupp are an interesting pairing. I have no doubt that Kupp can line up anywhere as well. I do think there's some versatility to both of them. It's not like JSN is, Wan'Dale Robinson. He's not tiny. And there's nothing really of note in the receiving room behind these two, unless you're pining away for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. JSN in particular is going to see a ton of targets. It is a weird pairing. It is a strange group. And now we have a team where there's an annoying amount of just new stuff here, right? New coordinator, new quarterback. We're adding Cooper Kupp to the mix. That's a little weird. So things like that can stay messy for a little while, even if we like the concept.
Answer the question, Behrens. You did not answer the question.
The
fascist email didn't work on you.
Let me tell you folks about the fascist email and my favorite thing about it, because I was just looking at it before we jumped on. Chris is a good writer who, you wouldn't think would have to use a lot of, you wouldn't think, oh, Chris Harris, he probably doesn't use a lot of italics, bold, whatever.
Underline.
There are phrases in the fascist email that are underlined, all caps, and bold.
You still ignored it for that question. You still didn't answer it. The answer's no, is what you're saying. The answer's no. Okay.
Yeah. I like to just make noises when the answer is otherwise no.
I don't want your noises.
Yeah,
I don't want your noises. Everybody knows the backstory. Everybody knows all that. I gotta say, maybe yes for me. I want to hear. I'm gonna be paying attention. Maybe not day by day, but every few days, I will check in on Seattle beat reports. I want to know what they're allowed to see. I said this on Jeff Erickson's show the other day. The scrimmages mean nothing, but those controlled. The preseason means nothing, but those controlled scrimmages that everybody does now, where one team ships entirely to somebody else's training camp. I think you can do 2 of them. They treat those real serious, and people get jacked up. People get hit hard in those. I want to know. The reporters are going to see those. I want to know where JSN is. I want to know where Kupp is. I'm with you. I don't think it probably changes my feelings about JSN. In fact, he was a big winner for me at the Almanac. If I were going to say one receiver that I came away thinking he's much better than people know, and we have in our minds he's only a slot receiver, but that's only because he's so deadly out of the slot. But I think he can win anywhere. He's my 12 in a standard size league. He's probably higher than that in a PPR. Among receivers, the real question is Kupp. If you put Kupp on an island, even if he's the split end, right? So he's allowed to move around, or rather, if he's the flanker, rather, if he's allowed to move around. I don't know if he's ever going to get open. I think it would be real bad news for anybody who's trying to salvage one last value play out of Cooper Kupp if he's not playing in the slot.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call. And again, they've been sort of messaging for a long time that they think JSN can function anywhere on the field, and I believe he can function anywhere on the field. We're pretty close to each other in our rank. I think between the likely target volume that he's going to see and the usage getting perhaps a little bit more interesting, I don't know how you get him outside your top 15
when he's good. That's also the thing we care about most of all.
Helps.
He's good. The backfield in Seattle, I'm scared to mention it because you might give me a 10-minute speech on Zach Charbonnet. I'll talk about tight end. I can't be mean to everyone, but I can certainly be mean to you. Looking forward to Wednesdays, aren't you, folks? I'll swerve to briefly to tight end. Seattle cuts. I mean, that must have been like in the Behrens household. Were you wearing a black armband when Noah Fant got cut? That must have been horrible.
Yeah, signed today. He's your newest Bengal.
Yes.
I can't, probably at the top of that Cincinnati receiving hierarchy immediately, right? Love it.
I don't think so. But so the immediate rush was, oh my God, Elijah Arroyo, because he has the unfortunate honor of having won the Underwear Olympics. So you're just going to get a certain kind of person who likes to talk about this stuff is just going to be like, guys, Elijah Arroyo is so fast. He jumped so high. His burst score was so good. I don't think even those people aren't going to be touting him as a fantasy starter right away, I don't think. But it's worth mentioning that AJ Barner got some of the same hype last year and wound up more an inline blocker in his rookie year, but that's because Noah Fant was there. Like, I have Elijah Arroyo written a profile before even Noah Fant got cut, and I don't have AJ Barner, anywhere near where I'm at. But like, I don't think it's this is something you'd want to stay away from, and almost nothing they can say about it in training camp is going to change my mind.
Yeah, I feel like you maybe don't have your ear to the ground in the fantasy community, perhaps as much as I do sometimes. And brother, the camp hype for Arroyo is happening. Yeah. He's already got plenty of helium, and I'm not going to say that people are talking about him necessarily as a fantasy starter, but it's really close. We're already getting he's moving all over the formation, he's catching everything, he's in the slot, he's in line, he's the X, he's all these things, and some of that might be accurate because again, this is a really thin receiving core after JSN. I don't think you're looking to this team for your tight end solution, but we do see guys pop every year who go undrafted at this position, and we have seen in the last couple of years plenty is an overstatement, but we've seen a couple of rookie tight ends really shine.
So I'll ask you the question because I answered it myself without asking it of you. He's my tight end 24, Elijah Arroyo. I feel like that's fair. My comp for him is Jared Cook. Is that mean? Yeah, that's pretty. No, that's pretty mean. That's pretty mean, baby.
I mean, it's mean in the way that fantasy players think of Jared Cook, but Jared Cook at his best was pretty good. Jared Cook was like that guy was a sleeper for like 6 or 7 straight years, which
he hung
doesn't
around
happen too often.
Right, he hung around a long time, but he never really popped the way his boosters wanted him to. By the time he did pop late in his career, no one believed anymore. Is there a world where you start being susceptible? I mean, again, any hype that's happening in July or August 1st or whatever, please, it's just people adjusting their ranks based on something that happens on August 1st, unless it's Joe Mixon's out for 3 weeks. But like if it's Elijah Arroyo looked really great in that one drill and now he's tight end 11, I have no patience. But so if you get those kinds of stories for 3 more weeks, do you have some susceptibility to Elijah Arroyo in you?
I have a little bit. My heart is open to it. Okay. I can imagine it, but I also can't imagine. There's a bunch of tight ends that I kind of sort of like, and I can't imagine him higher than I don't know 20 in my ranks. He's not there yet. But a little bit more hype would matter if it becomes perfectly clear that he's going to be on the field all the time. That will matter.
Right, but they're not going to tell us that, so we're probably not going to hear that. All right, Cardinals. We got year 2 coming up, another pure backup, handcuff, question mark, like maybe Trey Benson. Last year he was supposed to be more than the handcuff. Last year he was supposed to steal the job. Those people are quiet. No, they're not. They're just talking about someone else. But I'm having a little dialogue with myself here. But Trey Benson's still there. Last year he was considered draftable on his own. Because James Conner was inefficient because of some metrics, and therefore Benson was probably going to steal that job. That clearly they put the lie to that pretty quick. 63 carries last year. So now this year, the question isn't, is Benson draftable on his own? The question is, can you hear enough in August about how Benson gets used in practices and what the coaches have in store for him, et cetera, to turn him into one of those handcuff guys for James Conner?
Yeah, this is another one where the short answer for me is just a pretty clear no. I'm a big James Conner fan. I thought he was the most watchable aspect of Arizona's offense last season. Not really any part of me that thinks Benson is coming for a meaningful share of touches that could otherwise go Conner's way. I will say, to Benson's credit, I thought he had some nice moments in the second half of last season. We got to November and December. My initial impression of him in September was very poor. I didn't like watching him. I wasn't impressed, and I thought he was a little more authoritative as the season went on. But I don't think he's going to be much more than Conner is either injured or Conner needs a break for a series, and that's when we see Benson. I don't think they're that close. So there's not much that I'm going to hear in the summer that is going to change that opinion.
Agreed. Although that wasn't the question. The question
that was so close to a proper answer.
It was, but it was. Are you gonna get to the point? Like, I assume right now you don't consider Trey Benson, like, listen, guys, if you do draft James Conner, you got to get Trey Benson no matter what. You got to make sure you're locking it up. I don't feel that way. Do you?
Yeah, I don't feel that way either, because for me, the equation is always, am I getting, like with Tyler Algier, I don't think he can do a good impression of Bijan Robinson, right? Like, I think Robinson is rare stuff. But can I get some valuable every week top 15-ish fantasy production out of Algier? I've seen it. I know I can. Yeah. I don't know that that's the case with Trey Benson. I don't really trust it. I don't know that they wouldn't immediately be looking for additional running back help if something happens to James Conner. So no, he's not. Like, when I really think about, if I'm going to draft a handcuff, I want it to be a player that I'm legitimately going to hold. I don't, I made the comment before about how the handcuff back is the first guy that you drop, and that's usually true. But I don't want to think of him that way, right? When I'm drafting him, I don't want to think of him that way. And if that's the way I'm looking at him immediately, don't put him on your roster. Take some other flyer that you actually believe in.
We are sponsored again by Pre-Alcohol from Z-Biotics. All right, let's say you're going to do a fantasy football draft later this month, and let's say maybe you're going to actually get together in person with your friends to do this draft, and let's say you might have a little bit of alcohol the night before. The way to feel ready in the morning is make Pre-Alcohol by Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. It is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic developed by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted to a toxic byproduct in the gut. And it's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for a rough day after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Enjoy responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. And buddy, for me, it really works. I'm a believer. I use it regularly if I'm going to have alcohol. Go to zbiotics.com/Harris to learn more and get 15% off your first purchase when you check out using the code Harris. They've got a money-back guarantee. If you don't love it, let them know. They'll get your money back to you. Get 15% off your first purchase. Give it a try before those fantasy drafts. You got to order now, though. zbiotics.com/Harris and use that code Harris. Okay, we're back with Andy, and we have a bit more of Arizona to talk about, and what we're going to learn or not learn in training camp. So, I guess I would love to believe that an offense that's supposedly rounding into like maturity could sustain multiple wide receivers, but it doesn't feel that way going in, and I'm certainly not ranking them that way at all. Whatever your take is on Marvin Harrison, that's going to remain your take. I don't think that's going to change. Trey McBride was he got more targets than Harrison did last year. So, you got your take. You're not going to change that in training camp. If you took Michael Wilson's targets plus Greg Dortch's targets, that was more than Marvin Harrison's targets last year. If someone were to burst onto the scene and be like kind of an undeniable third wheel, if that offense turned out to be, okay, yes, they're finally the offense that they were supposed to be, then that third guy could be Jameson Williams, whatever. It could be like a lower volume, big play, exciting. The issue, of course, is that we don't think that Michael Wilson or Greg Dortch is probably that dude. I love Michael Wilson's hands. He's just not very fast. I guess I don't know. Is there any way any of those guys can light it up enough for you in August to be like, that second Arizona receiver is now worth taking a flyer on?
I mean, I would be shocked by it. I don't think people should. I don't think people should fall for Greg Dortch hype again. They're kind of fun, and I can. There are nice moments with Wilson as well. No, I'm. This team's also, some of it is just that this team's passing offense was gross last season. It was unfun, never explosive. One of my least favorite to watch, just based on my recent experience watching Arizona football. I can only get so bullish on any of these guys.
Is the Harrison thing? I guess I can ask you, because I kind of agree. Michael Wilson. I wish there's a world where somebody, kind of like turned him into the contested catch guy who gets a lot of focus, but that doesn't seem coming. When it comes to Harrison, everybody is going to, I don't think any Arizona beat reporter is going to be like, yeah, I really have questions about him. I don't feel like he looks like. They're all going to love him. They like their job. They like their access. He's taken enough crap. Like, it's going to be positive. Is that already baked into your rank of him? The idea that there's a second year leap coming, and I can't assume it's going to be too high. And so therefore there's really nothing that you're going to hear in terms of glowing reports that are going to change your mind.
Yes, although we are clearly going to hear glowing reports, and you said it pretty well. We're already seeing a little bit of it. Like, he gained a little bit of weight in the offseason, and we're getting a lot of like, oh, Marvin Harrison Jr. added muscle in the offseason. Watch out. Like, that's already out there. He's also, like, I will say, he occupies a respectable spot in my ranks. He's like in the mid-20s. That's kind of a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3.
I have him 21. So I guess I'm super high on Marvin Harrison. Wow, I love him this year.
Well, and like,
I don't love him this year.
But like, you're surrounded by really good players if you're in the 20s like that, and so it's it would take a lot for him to vault. So, I don't know who's he got to move ahead of. They're all really good names. Am I ready to vault him ahead of DJ Moore? I don't know. I guess I could imagine that happening, but there's not a lot of movement once you're already locked into the ranks as a fantasy starter. You can drop. But I can't imagine moving him up all that much. I loved him as a collegiate player. Obviously, he's not, a perfect separator, and they used him kind of weirdly last year. But whatever, we always say, targets are earned, and he didn't earn any more.
Played kind of bad. He played bad for a lot of the season. I agree. He's not going to go any higher. He can only go lower for sure. And I think that's important for people to realize, that if people start saying that the reports are so good, now he's wide receiver 11, you're just going to make the same mistake you did last year. Why do you want to do that? Don't do that to yourself. Yeah. 49ers. I'm doing these teams in the order in which they finished in the division. That seems weird that the 49ers were the last place team last year. Everybody got hurt, obviously, including Brandon Ayuk, who, unlike Stephon Diggs, is on the PUP list for training camp, and nobody is talking about him being ready for week 1. We could get a change there. All right, that could be something we learn in August, but clearly that would be a big story. Assuming not, I think probably there is something to maybe pay attention to. I'm not sure that a big change is definitively coming. I mean, Jawan Jennings already dealing with a calf injury. It's July. It's August 1. Like, I'm not freaking out about injuries, but if it lingers for 2 more weeks, we'll revisit. That's interesting. Ricky Pearsall missed all of mini camps and stuff with his hamstring, but he's back. What will you pay attention to in August to help you sort through getting to a final rank on those 2 guys?
Yeah, it's uncomfortable to admit this, but there are some players where, like, I'm ready for the hype. Like give it to me. Give me the camp videos. I'm ready for it because I want to believe. And Pearsall is one of those guys for me. I'm just very interested in him. Interested in seeing how much better he can be in an off season that is. Yeah, you mentioned he's already dealt with injury, but how about let's just have an off season in which he's not shot, and it's a little bit more normal. That would be outstanding. I've already taken a lot of Pearsall. I mean, shoot, now that I'm liberated from Yahoo, I'm playing all these best ball contests, and I'm like drafting I'm hemorrhaging money over here, Chris. I'm drafting every day.
Well, we've done enough best ball talk on the show today. We've done a lot of best ball talk, so I'll talk to somebody at DraftKings.
I've got plenty of Pearsall. Just good hands, good athletic traits that I think show up in game action, and did so as a rookie. Near the end of the first season, he's just very near the top of a tier for me among some wide receiver 3 types. Jennings isn't too far behind, again, assuming he's healthy. But man, Pearsall closed his season with a nice little surge that I think is representative of the sort of receiver that he can be in his second year. So yeah, I'm like, bring me the Pearsall hype. I am ready for it.
So where do you have him now among receivers?
Oh, embarrassingly low. He's tucked in the 30s here. I'll fire up the ranks right now.
I have him 29.
Yeah, you're even more like outwardly bullish than I am, but that's probably not representative of my actual in-draft behavior, because I keep Pearsall in the queue for he's generally in the queue like 2 rounds before he's actually taken.
He was another winner, I would say, Almanac winner. The JSN and Pearsall are probably the 2 receivers that I came away. I was like, okay, that guy needs to go up 10 spots for both of them, because I agreed with you on the film. I wish I had something divisive to say there, but it was limited film, no question. But the film is really good. I mean, the last game was Josh Dobbs, so let's not take our pants off. But it was just like, you see Juwan Jennings make plays, and they are good professional. Catch it and fall down kind of like, he's slow. He's one of the slowest receivers in the NFL. And then you watch Pearsall, and it's like, that dude is lightning. That dude is an insane athlete. He's extremely fast. He plays very fast. Just for film grades in the Almanac, speed, I give him a B+. And remember, like, the guys who are getting A+ are like Tyreek Hill. So to get a B+, you got to be fast. Elusiveness, I had a B. Hands, I had a B+. End zone, I actually give him a question mark because he didn't get anything in the end zone. But I don't know that I have much more like room to grow if the hype gets wild on him, because like you said, you're now comparing him to some very proven, very good receivers, but maybe a little bit. Maybe I will be susceptible a little bit. And of course, Juwan Jennings' health, we're certainly going to track that. They've talked a lot about the Jacob Cowing kid who also got hurt, but like, there has to be a third one out there too. They play 3 wide a lot. I guess they play Juszczyk a fair amount. So I just think it all bears watching and listening to.
Yeah, but you've hit on the guy that I am most interested in this receiving core, and it's a good point. Like, we see all these receiver prospects who come into the league, and oftentimes the combine measurements are like, they're eye popping, they're great. Wow, another 4.4 guy with a 40-inch vertical and crazy dimensions. You see it on the field with Pearsall, and to see it immediately as a rookie is really impressive.
All right, well, we last in this entire series in July, we saved a little dude named Christian McCaffrey. Is that an important player at all for fantasy? Does that matter at all? Will you want to hear? Would it be music to your ears the way it would be to mine to hear Kyle Shanahan say, I think we might take it easy on Christian this year and not tickle 25 to 30 touches every week. Like, I don't know if I'll believe him if he says it, but I think I want to hear him say it.
Yeah, and I don't feel like we've really heard it, at least not emphatically before. But man, it's hard not to come back to the fact that, like, obviously San Francisco didn't get McCaffrey back last season until November, after he had traveled the world looking for calf cures, and they immediately gave him like 90% of the snaps and all of the work. If you were ever going to ease him in, it was going to be last year after the long layoff, when you must have seen that he was laboring by his standards, right? So I'll need to hear it, and I'll need to hear it clearly. Also, we have to deal with the fact that, like, the Niners just very clearly are not going to be truthful with us, and the reporters who cover the Niners are definitely not going to be on top of whatever preseason development has the most fantasy impact. So this is a very difficult team to listen to.
It is, and so therefore, probably the single most important fantasy question of this season almost certainly has absolutely no answer that we're going to get anything satisfactory to, and you just are going to have to decide to go through that tribulation or not. I mean, I put McCaffrey 7 among running backs in a standard league, and I think it's 5, maybe 6 in a PPR. No, 5 in a full PPR, 6.5 PPR. And so that's like, yeah, I mean, in any kind of PPR, I'm kind of saying he's a first round pick, but towards the end there. But I mean, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to see that name come up and think, how do I not take him? Because I know 2 years ago it was hard not to win a league if you had him.
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, this could be the last year of his career. And I just have no idea if he could. I mean, the freakiest part about it was that the second injury had nothing to do with the first. It just non-contact knee injury. Like, oh man, the tiny bones are falling apart.
You mentioned his performance 2 years ago. I want to say that in Yahoo leagues, you had something like a 96% chance of making your league's playoffs if you had Christian McCaffrey on the roster. Like that's the nature of fantasy football, right? Your team is often as good as its best player, but when your best player is that much better than almost everyone else at his position, that's the sort of impact that you get. And so, I mean, McCaffrey is still somebody that you have to really prioritize. The thing that's really going to matter with McCaffrey, of course, is just what he's doing in practice. I just want to know that he's practicing every day and whatever. If you want to give him a veteran day here and there, that's fine. But like, we got to not listen to this team and just track whether he's active day to day in practices throughout the summer. I just need in fact, this is a player where like if I didn't hear anything, that'd be great. Let's not be talking about Christian McCaffrey because it means that he's just putting in work.
Where do you have him?
This is another guy where it's like, where do I have him versus what am I really doing with him? I mean, because he can be the RB1. That's pretty clear. But I've got him at like 6.
I'm 7, as I said. Is the 6 half PPR because you're brainwashed by Yahoo?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah
naturally? You got to get out of that. You get to play standard now if you want to.
I can play anything, Chris. It's wild.
It's good. Although La Liga is half PPR, so you know. I don't have McCaffrey or Barkley for La Liga. Is your head spinning? It's weird, right?
I know. It is really weird. Like the players that, you and I both sort of timed our rosters so that people who have been absolute mainstays for each of us, they're gone. They're in the free agent pool. They're open to, they're about to get new contracts. It's crazy. You still have a good team, though. I've got nothing.
Except I have Jefferson and Chase.
Yeah.
And Lamar and Hawkinson. The team's probably pretty good. I just don't have running backs. Go Jordan Mason. I have Jordan Mason in that league. I'll be able to buy one. I'll be able to buy one good running back. Not Barkley, though. Don't think I'm going to get Barkley back. And there we mentioned Garendo early as one of the main handcuffs. You have to try to guess who McCaffrey's second guy is, and you can't leave it up to fate in that Shanny Jr. system to maybe I'll get him on waivers. Like if you draft McCaffrey, you're just going to have to reach for the next guy. Can anything happen for you in August that would convince you it's not Garendo? I guess they could just come out and say it, but like if we're having to read tea leaves, it seems unlikely that we would come to the conclusion that's anybody but Garendo.
Yeah, once again, we can't trust the team. I thought Garendo looked good enough to be, a locked-in fantasy starter if anything happens to McCaffrey. I can't believe that they didn't see it the same way. He's got to stay healthy, which is no layup for Garendo based on, the journey he took us on last year. But I see him as a pretty clear priority handcuff here.
Me too, and probably nothing is going to happen outside of injury or outside of like a very obvious announcement like Garendo's pissed. He left the locker room in tears. He's not the guy who's backing up McCaffrey. I think otherwise we're probably locked in there. We did it. We did it not only for this division, but for the entire round of divisions. We made it through 8 shows and 8 sets of things to pay attention to. And on Monday's podcast, Dave Richard from CBS is coming on board, and we each nominate our 5 most important of all these stories, and my 5 will come from the ones that we already talked about, and Dave's 5 will just be totally random and insane, and that's fine. I don't mind. I'm just kidding, Dave. You're not listening, but just in case you are, I love you. You and I, however, are going to start making a habit of making podcasts on Wednesdays.
Heck yeah, we are.
next Wednesday, it will be not a replacement. I'm doing 5 free episodes next week, per usual, throughout August. But there'll also be a bonus episode of me and Andy. We don't know what the topic's going to be. We'll come up with something fun. And so, on Monday.
How about just Andy explains the animal kingdom to people?
I mean, you got to figure that's going to be like 73% of that show. It's just going to be you having fights with animals. But we don't have a way for you to subscribe just yet. But on Monday, I will give an update on Monday's podcast. You'll hear, and the process will be real easy, and you'll have access to all that stuff that we talked about before. So we did it. We've been planning this announcement now for more than 2 months, and we finally have let the cat out of the bag. It's a pleasure to have had you on, and I look forward to talking to you a bunch more this season.
I cannot begin to tell you how much I'm looking forward to this. Yeah. I'm locked in. I love that we're doing this together.
I do too, and I want to thank you so much for listening and putting up with all of these announcements and stuff today. It was a big chock full of announcements show. Let's thank the sponsors, because without the sponsors, there would have been no show. DraftKings and their best ball product. Obviously, I mentioned that I did a draft. I also did a spot for them as well. So if you want to check out DraftKings, get that app, use the code Harris to be in the Millie Maker. Also thank Fantrax. Remember what I said about Fantrax? They're fantastic. That seems like a long time ago in the show, but they're great. They've been sponsoring us for years. It really is a great platform to host your site if you're frustrated with the run-of-the-mills. They're very much not run-of-the-mill. And Pre-Alcohol by Z-Biotics, about whom I've spoken a bunch in July. They're continuing to sponsor. They're sponsoring our mock drafts on YouTube. They're great, and I really think it works, and I would really recommend you try it out. They've got a money-back guarantee, so why not? Well, we've come to the point where the angry emails begin. Not really. I am not expecting too many. There'll probably be a few, or just like sad, resigned emails. What I want to emphasize about the show I'm going to do with Andy and the fact that we're managing a little bit of subscription thing. I mean, I think content in general on the internet is sort of shying a little away from advertising and a little more towards, paying for the things that you really want to read or listen to. And I'm trying not to go all the way there, at least not at first. And, hopefully never. I love the ad-supported model. Obviously, I've done it for 10 years. I work my butt off to get the ads. It's hard work, man. And you got to put up with a lot. And this is kind of exciting. It's more work than I thought I was going to be announcing, because I thought I was going to be announcing, hey, it's 4 shows now. We'll all be able to deal with that, right? And instead, it's turning into something more. But the great thing is I get to work with my friend, and I think that show will be really fun, and all those benefits should be awesome too. I'll have more info about how you can subscribe on Monday's show. It's going to be painless. It's going to be easy. And you'll get like a new podcast feed to listen to all the episodes on, and the Wednesday one, once we get to the season, the Wednesday one will not have ads on it. But the bonus stuff that I do with Andy starting next week, that's on top of 5 shows a week, because I don't want to take away the draft topics. We all need to talk through, I need these shows. Believe me, I need these shows. So in August, none of this stuff applies. Monday through Friday, Wednesday, ad supported. We're plowing ahead because we need these shows to get ready for our drafts. Once the season starts, though, that Wednesday show will go to the private. So I hope you're okay with that. Sorry for the Almanac snafu. Holy moly, that was something else on top of it. But I think that's all pretty much contained at this point. If you got a free one, yeah, I'd love it if you'd buy one anyway. It sure would, be sort of the honor system. I can't make it happen. I can't make you do it. It was my technical problem there for about 15 minutes or a half an hour or something where it was available to everybody. But you know what? I don't mind. I'm really excited about this season. I'm excited about I get to work with one of my best friends, and hopefully a bunch of you will be excited about that as well. Let's put all that aside. Starting next week, it's 5 episodes per week, and Monday through Friday, and nothing changes except there'll be a bonus episode with Andy if you want it. And Monday's going to be, as I mentioned, me and Dave Richard from CBS. We're going to talk about the story, sort of a capstone to all these July shows. We're going to talk about the stories that are going to matter absolutely most to us, that we're going to learn the most from to change our ranks and stuff. We'll have that for you on Monday's podcast. Phew! Until then, thanks again so much for listening. Your hat is awesome. You're awesome for wearing it. I will talk to you on Monday.
The Harris Football Podcast's opening theme is Under the Gun by Apex Manor. The closing theme is Say Yes by The Wellspring. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and never miss an episode.